Hey everyone, and welcome to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, where we break down the latest research into what it really means. Ever find yourself mindlessly opening your phone, only to realize you've just wasted precious minutes scrolling? You are not alone. Today we're diving into a fascinating study that explores how to make smartphone interventions, like those that put a little pause between you and your apps, actually stick. So the big problem researchers are trying to solve is this. We know that adding a little bit of friction or delay when you try to open an app can actually stop you from doing it as much. Think of it like a tiny roadblock. But the huge issue is that people often quit these interventions. They just stop using them, which means the intervention can't help them anymore. This is called attrition, and it is a massive challenge. This study wanted to figure out if there is a better way to design these friction interventions to keep people using them. Their big idea was to test if gradually increasing the delay or friction would be more tolerable than hitting users with the full delay right from the start. They wondered if easing people into it would help them stick around longer. To test this, the researchers basically set up a real-world experiment. They got over 1,600 people who were new users of an app called 1sec. This app is designed to put a short delay on opening certain apps. They split these users into 4 groups. One group got the full 10-second delay immediately and kept it for all 6 weeks. Other groups got a more gradual approach, starting with a 3-second delay and slowly increasing it to 6 seconds, and then finally to 10 seconds over the 6 weeks. They wanted to see which of these approaches led to more people sticking with the app. And here is where it gets really interesting. What did they find? Sadly, it turns out that gradually increasing the delay didn't really make much of a difference in keeping people around. The study found that most people still dropped out, with about 65 to 70% quitting the intervention, regardless of whether the delay ramped up slowly or was there at its full strength from day one. So, their main hypothesis, that gradual escalation would improve retention, wasn't supported. They dug a little deeper. They looked at dropout week by week and even treated the delay duration as a number to see if there was any relationship. But again, no luck. It didn't seem to matter if the delay was short or long. People were still leaving the app at similar rates. This suggests that the amount of delay wasn't the main culprit for people quitting. But here is a crucial distinction. While the delay duration didn't help people stay with the app, it did seem to affect their behavior while they were using it. For the people who did stick around, longer delays led to them dismissing more app opening attempts. This means that when the delay was longer, people were more likely to think, you know what? I don't really need to open this app right now. So the delay was influencing their immediate actions. It was shaping their behavior, but it wasn't stopping them from eventually leaving the intervention altogether. So what is the big takeaway here? The researchers concluded that gradually increasing the intensity or delay isn't the magic bullet for keeping people engaged with these kinds of smartphone interventions. Instead, they proposed that different aspects of the intervention might be good at achieving different things. For example, the length of the delay might be good for making users pause and reconsider an app opening in the moment, but it is not what makes them stay subscribed to the app over time. Their theory is that for retention, for actually getting people to stick with an intervention, it is more about the simple act of being interrupted in the first place, of breaking that automatic habit. It's the introduction of that pause, that moment of friction that seems to be the key, not necessarily how long that pause lasts. Now, let's quickly touch on how they did this. They got people to agree to be part of the study that is informed consent. Then, they randomly assigned them to the different delay schedules. They didn't collect anyone's personal information, just used anonymous codes to track their app usage and whether they kept using the 1sec app. This is pretty standard for this kind of real-world study. The app itself, 1sec, is the tool here. When you try to open a chosen app, say Instagram, it doesn't let you in right away. It makes you wait for a set amount of time that is the delay or friction. During this wait, you are supposed to take a breath and think if you really want to go into the app. They used 3 durations, 3 seconds, 6 seconds, and 10 seconds. The groups were set up in different ways. For example, one group got ABC, meaning 3 seconds for the first 2 weeks, then 6 seconds for the next 2, and finally 10 seconds for the last 2. Another group, CCC, just got 10 seconds the whole time. Now, no study is perfect, and this one has some important limitations. One big one is how they measured retention. They basically inferred it by seeing if people used the app in the last week. If someone stopped using the 1sec app, they counted it as dropout. But it is possible that someone just became really good at managing their app use and didn't need the 1sec app anymore. essentially succeeding at their goal and thus not generating app events. This could make dropout rates look higher than they actually are, especially in conditions with longer delays that might lead to less app opening. Also, the delays they tested were pretty short, all within a 3 to 10 second range. It might be that at a certain point, all these delays are just aversive enough that they all lead to similar dropout rates. Maybe much shorter or much longer delays would behave differently. And finally, they only studied people who actively chose to install one sex. So we can't say how this would work for people who don't want these interventions in the first place. So what's the big picture moving forward? This study highlights a crucial point for digital health tools. We can't just assume that making an intervention stronger or more intense will always lead to better results across the board. Instead, we need to think about what specific outcome we're trying to optimize. If the goal is to get people to reduce app openings in the moment, then longer delays might be useful, even if they don't help people stick with the intervention long term. If the goal is retention, then perhaps the focus needs to be on the initial experience, making the interruption itself less jarring, rather than just playing with the duration of the delay. It is about understanding that different design features might serve different purposes. Ultimately, this research tells us that while gradually increasing friction might sound like a good idea for getting people to stick with digital tools, the reality is far more nuanced. It seems that any interruption can be enough to break an automatic behavior, and that initial break is more important for retention than the specific duration of the pause. But for those who do stick around, a longer pause can still be a powerful tool to nudge them towards more mindful app usage. It's a reminder that designing effective digital interventions isn't about finding a one-size-fits-all solution, but about understanding the complex interplay between efficacy and tolerability. What do you guys think? Have you ever used an app like OneSec? What were your experiences? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this breakdown helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to RUBIN'S Mind Lab, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the fascinating world of psychology and behavior. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.